My dad was a photographer, and like in Soviet Union, it was this kind of culture of it calls любители. I mean, in English it means not professional photographers, but who's also in exhibitions. Sometimes their stuff picked up by magazines, and stuff like that. And he was working in a big manufacturer factory in Moscow. And he's in this kind of photography club, because in the Soviet Union was a lot of photography and sort of like, this Krzysztof Kieslewski movie, Projectionist, about the guy, yeah. So that's kind of classic, absolutely for all kind of communist, socialistic countries. And he always like taking photos and stuff. And then I start taking photos. And then when you take photos and also you shoot, when you wrap the movie, you don't want to see any kind of camera. So basically I just found that I haven't taken pictures for like 5 years. I have no pictures of myself and I have no pictures of my family, zero. And when I see 5D, I usually feel like I just don't want to grab this camera, because I feel like I'm working. So after I bought Leica, it's kind of changed, because it's kind of fetish thing. You kind of really like it held in your hands, and you really take sort of a pleasure, think, that it's not rushed. There's no like 25 buttons, like crazy menus. So I really love that what they done with that. I think it's
exactly my story too. Like, I have exactly that watch.
It's actually a Brad Pitt present. It's good.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but they probably had Bell and Rosses in the movie, but really, yeah.
No, at the end he gave he's a really sweet guy. I will never probably buy this watch, but.
But I felt, I started with still photography, and people always ask me, why did you move to cinematography? I go, well, because. I was, as a teenager, like I had one Nikon here with black and white film, one with color. I always felt like I'm traveling and working, like, either I ruin the moment because I'm trying to capture it, or I'm ruining the moment because I'm upset I didn't capture it. So same as you, like, I was happy once I got cinematography as a profession. I felt like, okay, when I'm done shooting, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't have to, I can go on vacation, I can just have like I don't have to worry about also, because to me it was work also. And I had a 5D also, and I sold it again, and because I never took it, and for the exact same reasons.
Too heavy, and yeah.
And so for probably, like 10 years, it really dropped off my photography. I just didn't, I had no, plus I had so many images. I was always thinking, what am I doing with all these negatives? I had, no one sees them, and now, through Instagram, because actually people are seeing it. There's some kind of feedback, and like you described, like something simplistic like that, and getting back, and it's now I started doing it again.
And it's actually quite enjoyable.
Yeah.
I'm waiting they're gonna release some, not Leica, but like when digital medium format will be. I think it will be fun.
Yeah, I think they have one. Hasselblad has one, but it's like
no, it's
20, 40.
It's like a car.
Yeah.
You're buying a Mercedes. But yeah, I think in general photography it's something amazing, and at the same time, it's important to keep going with that. Otherwise, you kind of lose sense of composition a little bit.
Yeah. So you actually then, I guess because of that, that's how you got into sort of the visual story. Did you start with?
Just through my dad. He was like, because he was one of those parents, who take their kids to exhibition, and I'm usually was sitting on the floor like dying from being bored, and he was like buying books, and I never understood why he's standing so long and stuff like that. And then, we always kind of developed negatives and print in a red bathroom with a red lamp in our apartment in Moscow. And then by accident, in our house, we had like kind of very old house in Moscow, and it's kind of, very sort of interesting people were living, composers and, like doctors, translators. nothing privileged, just kind of educated people. And we had one cinematographer living, like, I don't know, 3 stores above us. And basically sometimes he just was going down and borrow my dad lenses for his, because dad has like 12 millimeter, 8 millimeter. It was all rare in Soviet Union to buy any kind of lenses and stuff. So he was always like, because it was all this system like, just, can I just borrow from you? Like people borrow bread, furniture, like whatever, and cameras itself as well. So, and this is like kind of first time I found out. And then after I graduated from school, high school, I didn't know really what to do. I was kind of a little bit sort of like, it's not like I was born with my camera or something like that, no. And then I start, you know, my dad gave me a camera, said, oh, you can, you know, try take photos. I started taking photos, and I quite like it. So I developed myself. I probably like first 5 rolls, and they never been even like properly developed. Then kind of little by little, I remember this kind of sort of a magic feeling when you finally realize that what you see through, that's exactly what you're gonna get. Because usually you just kind of, in the beginning, just take for, you don't really know that's what you see is what you're gonna get. And then I met this gentleman again, and you know, he said, oh, you got a good photos, you should try go to GIK, it's called the Russian Cinematography University. And I said, well, why not? And I try, it was, I remember it was happened like winter, and they have these exams in spring, and I came there. And the first sort of exam is you got to bring 25 photos, and before you even get accepted to exams, you go through like kind of competition with your photography. And I went through competition, and you know, I haven't seen much movies really that time. You know, I was like, I saw like, you know, movies, but I wasn't been into like movies a lot. And I passed through, and then there was how to say in English, when basically they interview you. It's like second exam, and only after that you get like physics, optics, chemistry, and then I think Russian language and literature. So it's like to get there, it's a hell basically. It was like, I don't know, 105 people. It was only 50 places, and it was 105 people for each place. So, and then getting to interview, and there was like these great cinematographers were sitting there, asked me like about Bergman, Tarkovsky, and I was like kind of, I never really saw that movies, you know. I said like, and I remember that the only movie I saw which was kind of blow me away was Terminator 2, you know, by James Cameron. And because, you know, I was a kid, like 13 years old in Moscow, and we had this little movie theaters where it was a TV and chairs in the darkness and little TV, and you got to pay like rubles to get there and watch movies. And they show like crap movies there, but was Terminator 2 like kind of like a gospel in a way, you know? And I said, well, I really like that movie. And they looked at me and said, so basically I didn't pass my exam, but I kind of get intrigued by that because I felt like that's kind of interesting. I never knew anything about anything like that. And then I met with the gentleman again. I said, listen, I try to get there to like my photos, but then they start asking me questions about it, and I really didn't know much. And he said, yeah, man, you gotta watch like Tarkovsky, all these movies. So basically, I started working because I had to work as a Xerox operator. I was working in a metro station to Xerox copies, you know, fax copies of people, documents and stuff. And parallel, I saved a little money and, you know, bought another camera and started like going and watching movies. And the next year, I came again.
I've seen some Tarkovskys now.
Yeah, but I've saw already a lot of movies, and basically, and that year it was sort of a class by Vadim Yusov. It's like iconic Soviet Russian cinematographer who shot like Childhood of Ivan, Andrei Rublev, Solaris, and you know, he's just, you know, kind of genius. I believe he is, and he was. Unfortunately, he died last year. And I get in there, and he watched my photos. He really liked my photos. He started talking to me, and you know, I already knew like Vittorio Storaro. I saw all these movies. I was like very passionate about it. And then it was like hard part. So I went through basically this, and then it was like chemistry, optics, and Russian language and literature. And like chemistry, optics, I was alright because I read a lot about, it's not like a chemistry, but you gotta know how to create your own developer for the film, put all the stuff, you know, develop, print. You gotta know how to, with optics, you gotta know how the lenses works and stuff like that. And the last exam was Russian. It was Russian language and literature. And by chance, it became the hardest exam for pretty much everyone in the room. And people try to write really like short sentences, so you don't do a lot of grammar mistakes just to get through, because it was kind of, you know, like people cannot be talented in everything, you know. And basically, I passed the exams and everything, but I had sort of marks which not allow me to go. But I was like sharing with the other guy same basic marks, but because he had some higher marks or something, they took him. They didn't took me. So it was second time I tried to get in, but then I just realized that like I need to do something, and I start working, and you know, in this company start like working with Adobe Photoshop, kind of up step from my Xerox copies, and I start making a little bit of money. And in that year, they open up a possibility that people who score like a good amount of whatever, you can pay basically like $2,000. That time for me was just basically everything I made for like 2 years to get in. And I just realized that I really want to get in, whatever. And I paid, and I didn't even have another $2,000 to pay for second half of the year. So I said, I just pay, and then we'll see what happens. And the first half of a year, we shot a lot, and I shot a lot, and you know, I kind of was really good, you know. And then Vadim Yusuf called me in January and said, listen, there is a couple guys I don't like really, you know, who is, you know, pass exams and stuff. They don't do good, they don't respect, like they're always late. I want to take them out of the course, and you're gonna replace them, so you don't have to pay, you know. And for me it was miracle, because literally I thought January, that's my last month. I have no money, you know, because I didn't work. I was, you know, in the university, and it happened, you know, and then it was miracle. This is how it all kind of started, and I had this kind of dream always, you know, to to be the best, you know, shoot a lot, and I started seeing on our department this kind of strange magazine in English, where a lot of very cool photos of people doing stuff. Because when you go to lectures, they're all like Vadim Yusuf talk about Andrei Rublev, psychological of camera, but you just first year in the film school, you want to know like what's the exposition like, what's like some simple stuff, where like actually where the light was, and they never really answer you. Said you got to figure out, dude, like this is how we were thinking about it and all this. And I understand it's like you know, you're reading Anna Karenina when you're 12 years old. You're never gonna get this book or whatever, you know. It just, you're not, you know, you don't have this life experience. And I started reading this book, and I didn't speak English, and I started with vocabulary, doing something. And in my university, we have this strange English teacher, Boris Green, I remember his name, who was kind of always a little bit kind of drunk, kind of every day pretty much, and he looked exactly like this actor Robbie Williams, who died, you know, kind of little guy with and he basically what he did, he just was with actors department, he was kind of singing Beatles songs and teach them English. So I came to him, listen, like, because I was still kind of working after my university in the evenings to do these Xeroxes and stuff. I said, listen, if I pay you some money, can you like start teaching me English? He said, yeah, let's try. And then basically 2 years I would go to his place. He was living like in a kind of hostel near the university, because he was originally from Ukraine. And 8 a.m. before all the classes, we sit down, and I was like falling asleep and learning English and translate articles. And this is how I kind of realized how sort of a big this world is, because from Moscow in 1999, it's really difficult to understand, you know, it's like another planet in another galaxy, you know, all this kind of Hollywood or like your works, you know, it's like it was something unreachable, it was like a space basically. And you know, I start translated these articles for department, and you know, probably and I translated like your movies and translated American cinematography, yeah. And then I started translated Janusz's movies. I remember like artificial intelligence was like crazy article, like 10 pages or something. So I was like typing. And this is how I kind of sort of understood maybe scale of all this profession. And after that, I just realized that because the film school was 5 years, that I gotta just, and it was already 3 years there, that I gotta just start shooting, because you can't just go to election, listen people, and never do anything really. We shot some, of course, black and white and colorful, without sound, without a director. It's actually another funny story. It's because I think it's actually really smart what they do in Moscow. Basically, on the second grade, after first year, when it's just photography, nothing else. On the second grade, you shoot like a 5 minutes composition. It calls composition 1. When it's a black and white, it's just a gray walls. You can't put any furniture. You can put furniture, but you can't hang anything on the walls. So you can't use any textures. And you gotta shoot like 5 minutes essay, black and white film. You gotta develop, you gotta do tests, you gotta see what your gradient is. And of course, like nobody really listened to these restrictions, and people brought like dogs, furniture, director, it just like becomes a mess, because everyone wants to be creative. But Vadim Yusuf, I think why he was such a genius teacher, he always teach a discipline. Like, if you're on his course, it's like an army. You gotta be on every lecture. If you lose a lecture, he can't send you out of your seat. It's all about discipline. And we shot our jobs, and it wasn't, of course, amazing. Everyone was too contrasty. Blacks were too black. Like we didn't know how to light it. And then in the third year, and probably my composition was kind of the worst, because I didn't have enough feel, and I didn't really develop as a low gradient, so it was kind of contrasty, like 4 stops maybe latitude, so it was really dark. And he said, listen, it's a little dark, man. I was very depressed, and like no. And then next year was colorful, you gotta shoot on color. And I remember I was watching a lot of movies, and especially I think by that time I was very influenced by Storaro. Like a lot of cinematographers, it's hard really, it's like kind of commonplace, but reality is I think he's the greatest. So you can't really compare anything to him, to him, just because I think the way he treat composition, especially with Bertolucci, I think they tandem together, because you feel they took from each other a lot. It's never really just Storaro. And then I kind of start bounce slides, I brought from my home all these sheets, and I get like crazy basically. So basically I shot kind of the best color composition, and then directors came, 10 people watch my work, and I was really kind of impressed that it so happened. And I didn't think about it. And after that I just realized I want to work, and I started shooting TVs and music videos and commercials. So basically after that I didn't really stop, and I was just shooting non-stop.
But you're still in school?
Yeah, I was still in school. So it was then I had a hard talks with Vadim Yusuf. He said, listen, you're not attending the lectures, I'm gonna send you out and stuff like that, what's going on. But because I think I always kind of did a good job, he liked it, he somehow managed me to stay there. And but I was good with my marks. I just didn't attend on the lectures. Especially I remember we had this class of documentary movies, and because we all feel that it's kind of shit, we want to see Bob Richardson, so documentaries, they look like crap, so nobody really want to go there. And I remember now it was 8 a.m. call for the class, and if you really walk in and turn on light, everyone was just because it was that documentary movies which won Venice in 1982, and of course right now I enjoy those movies, but back there, this kind of yasful maximalism. You want to just see great shit, you don't want to see something bad. and then we got a guy whom we pay, and he basically somehow could record those from film to VHS. So before exams, we all go to university campus and to our guys, and we have this VHS of documentary movies from the whole year, and we just in one day we just watch them. Yeah, and of course on the fast forward just to get sense, because later we got these exams about it. So it was a lot of fun actually. Right now you remember it's genius stories. And I would start shooting, and then I think my story wasn't kind of usually this beautiful cinematographer stories about and they met together with Andrei Tarkovsky in the film school, and after that they shoot this and this and this. My story was completely opposite. I was kind of working, shooting non-stop, took any kind of job because of money and everything, And then I remember one big producer in Russia, Valery Todorovsky, with whom I then shot probably my successful movies. He also a big producer. He produced TV shows. He called me because I won Kodak Award and Student Cinematography Award for some shorts. He called me and said, listen, you got to do TV show for me. And TV show was like, we got to shoot like 12 minutes a day or something like ridiculous on Betacam HD. And in Minsk, Belarus, and I'm like Stararo, watching all these movies, composition, use of like, and I show up on a scout with the director, and I understand that, like, and I said, I think we should sit down and do storyboards, and he looked at me like I'm crazy, and I said, listen, but we gotta like, I can't just, and then I ordered lighting, and my lighting was bigger than anybody ordered. I had like Dinos, HMIs, it was the whole, and the production manager said, what do you think? You're gonna work with Ridley Scott? Why you ordered this so much shit here? It's crazy. Like, look at this. And there was like another famous Russian DP shooting. It has like 3 dead lights, couple kino flaws. Why you need? And I was like so stressed. So basically I lost, 10 kilograms on that job. And then I was in the biggest depression because I finished this TV show, and then some people, were shooting these artistic movies which won festivals and people talking about. And I basically was like 7 months in Belarus shooting crap and like kind of moving these Dinos, HMIs, relighting everything every time when there was turnaround because I didn't know how to light stuff. So I was in depression. And I was like, this like not gonna work or anything. And then like pretty much usually how it is in my life right now, it's kind of strange. But I watched a movie, it was called La Sour, French movie, shot by Michel Abramovich. Very interesting cinematographer who was working with Pascal Desantis as assistant, and that movie was take place in the desert. And visually it was just, I think, stunning. You have like 1,000mm lens through like, cars coming. The 8mm lens with a black foil as a gradient filter. He just used a black foil, put it right in the shot, so the sky like pitch black. I was like, wow, what is this kind of thing? It's like, I never seen anything like that. It's amazing. So I found his email somehow, and internet just started. Right now, probably people use Facebook for that, and nobody answer anymore because it's kind of a random thing. But those days it was like kind of hard to find his email or something. So I found his email, and I said, listen, I'm like from Russia. I mean, I really love your movies. Can I just come to your set? And that's it. And I was like, probably never gonna answer. And then I'm receiving email from him after like a week. He's saying, yeah, you can come. And I made this money on this TV show, and basically I took a visa, bought a ticket to the plane, flew. He was in France, in Paris. And it was my first abroad trip. I'd never been abroad before. And I'm coming to Paris and landing in Paris, and I'm open up map and I see there is written Hotel de Ville. And I said, probably I just just gonna go there in this Hotel de Ville to stay. And I'm walking, and I can't find Hotel de Ville. And then I'm looking up in the building, and it says Hotel de Ville, just historical building. It doesn't have anything with the hotels. And then I found some strange Korean Chinese hotel. I stayed, and then I text him, and like he didn't answer. Then I text him again, and then okay, come by, and he tell me address, and I'm come by on his set. I brought him some presents and stuff, and like I said, listen, thank you so much for letting me come.
What did you bring?
I brought some propaganda posters, which I love. I mean, they're quite beautiful. And I brought him some caviar, black caviar. In those times, you can travel with caviar abroad. So I brought him like a kilo of black caviar. I said, listen, this is what I have. Like, thank you. I just want to see it. And then he looked at me, he said, you feel like, after later he said, I thought if it would be some crazy guy, I'd just, say goodbye. But he felt, okay, you're a good guy, you want to stay. And then it was hard because I didn't have medical insurance. In Russia, nobody had medical. So producers like, we can't have them on set if something happens. And Michel said, okay, don't worry, I'll take care about him, like, it'll be fine. And I was carrying, basically, they only let me carrying video assist playback, a giant thing for a little lady who was working on video assist, beautiful French girl who was like just skinny, like very beautiful, like, and I was just carrying box behind her, like this Russian man, and she was like, put it there. And I was and then I was watching his work, and I was just amazed by speed, by all this kind of just bam, this kind of changing and everything. And it was a month there, and I was basically just living there, going there on that set every day, and just watching how he was working. And he was very grateful. You asked him questions about how to light it, white interiors, how to do this, and he kind of gave me all that. And then after this month, I came back to Moscow, and I kind of rethink everything what I was thinking, you know, and sort of, and then it was my first feature film, my full-length feature film I get from my friend, actually, because Russia was in those days really, because old generation couldn't really work because they were so used to Soviet system where it was a lot of days, a lot of time. So and probably they just saw, you know, at least I'm a, you know. So basically they gave me the movie, it wasn't anything special, okay director, but I like was very happy. And then I liked it, and you know, and I kind of start working. I think from that moment, probably my sort of a career when I really start realizing what I'm actually doing kind of started, you know. And after that movie, I get another proposal, and then I finally start working with that producer who gave me that first TV serial, Valery Todorovsky, who is, I think, fantastic screenwriter, my very close friend of mine. And we shot one movie which was quite successful, I think beautiful as well, but then we did musical Hipsters. It's about styliagi kind of hipsters, sort of, it was, you know, in 1950s when it was Stalin in Moscow, like people were communists, it was against jazz, against Elvis Presley, against Louis Armstrong, but because it still was some high society of those kids of diplomats who could travel to the United States and come back, they brought sometimes these records, and they start listening, you know, Louis Armstrong, you know, like Charlie Parker, all this music, and they become hipsters. They start wearing like very colorful clothes, very cool shoes. They start doing this thing, and they start like sort of hang out on Tverskaya Street in Moscow, and they call it Broadway. And then basically that story about this little Komsomolets who go on the street and fall in love with a girl who is a hipster, and he becomes a hipster, and that girl sort of it's a story about love and changing from being Komsomolets to this crazy guy, and he's from poor family, and you know he becomes this guy who playing saxophone, and everyone falls in love with him, and then he meets this girl who is pregnant, and then she tells him, "I'm not pregnant from you," and he said, "It's okay, anyway I'm gonna love you." But when she delivers a baby, it's a black baby, because she basically had relationship with a black American, you know, who came in Russia somehow. And all this story, because there were no black people in Soviet Union, you know, how when she delivered this baby, what is it? Yeah, everyone from, you know, they all look at it, and it's like, so it's a movie about that, and it was very successful. We showed it in the United States, and a lot of people saw it, and people loved the movie. We had a great success. It did a lot of money, and it was very successful. And Valery was about to prep project in America, and he wanted me to bring, and this is how he sent my DVDs to Pete Franciosa, somehow through whatever happened. And then also I shot...
Pete is your agent
yeah.
at UTA.
Yeah, in UTA. And then also I shot this short Philips with Robot in Moscow commercial, which won Grand Prix in Cannes, because they came in Moscow and looked for DP was talking English, we got a good showreel, so they hired me with Carl Eric Rinch, you know, John Mathison show with him, 47 Ronin. So it's all kind of came in 1 year, it was 2010, like together. And then basically at night, just my phone ring, I picked up, and it was Pete Franciosa who said, "Oh man, we saw your work, you want to come to America?" And I was like, I was so kind of happy, because, you know, like, you're doing all this work, and, you know, you don't shoot some festival movies where people like, oh, he's a genius, whatever. You just work your kind of butt off in a way, you know, you do some cool stuff. And then this guy's kind of calling, said, you want to go to America? And I was so excited. I said, yeah, guys, I was waiting when you will call me. So it's like, okay, so come. And I came to States and visit them, and, you know, they signed me. And then
You came on a tourist visa?
Yeah, tourist visa, just show up. We have spent some time. Pete has this famous garage in his house where like Bruno Del Bonel and a lot of people stayed, you know, and Hoyte van Hoytenen. So I stayed in the garage, and, you know, I think he's just kind of, these guys who just love what you do, you know, that's why he's special. And basically after that I did little movie Motel Life, and I get like all sort of how I can get in. And then I was interviewed by David Ayer for Endowatch. It was just a random interview. And after that he called me, I was back in Moscow, I didn't live in LA yet, and he said, you should come, shoot my movie. And then we did Underwatch, and this is how I get project like Fury. So basically, I'm just said such a long story. I think for the only reason of it, because we all know that our jobs depends on the director. Like we become successful when we work with successful directors. But maybe my story, and I don't want to say that I didn't work with successful, talented people. I did, of course. But I think that every DP has still chance, to achieve something, even if it's not like his first movie was Ingmar Bergman or you still have a chance, And I think this is how it happens. And right now, I'm quite happy we did Fury, and I think we did something interesting visually, and I think we did something completely opposite to what was in Endowatch, extremely opposite. And that's what I love about sort of a cinematography. I don't like to be like, oh, he has a style, or this guy has a style. I really want to do every movie very different because I like jazz, I like all kind of music, and I think it's important that you can, because anyway, it will be you at the end of the day. Your lighting, you will feel it because you feel things the way you only gonna feel. But I think it's important that you do everything kind of little different, so you change, you try to sort of change yourself.
And we're given a different story every time, so it's like in a way, you apply. Yeah, and unlike some other cinematographers where you really feel their handprint. I mean, Storaro and Bertolucci was an amazing collaboration, but he has a very, Italian, strong, expressionistic way of lighting, and it worked fantastic with Bertolucci.
But it didn't work with a director who was not strong enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can handle it, sort of a way.
So it's. I agree. It's nice if you can. It's nice if you. I mean, that's why I like Roger Deakins when I first started. I saw Sid and Nancy, and I go, oh, that's great. And then I made sense. The guy comes from. Was the documentary cameraman, and he was able to just not have his, composed cinematic lighting and all that. But then he did Mountains of the Moon, and then and it was just it's when I realized like that's kind of more interesting to me. When you can't identify
I think
cameraman.
My relationship with Roger Deakins, I don't know him personally, but of course I know every movie. Quite strange. I think he got this. I think the uniquality of his talent for me, that basically you see 5 of his movies and then okay, I got it. I want to do different, and then you start prepping movie, and somehow you're gonna see one of his movies for sure. You always come back to him at a certain point of your life, and I think it's something amazing. You won't come back maybe that much to Storaro because, like Last Emperor, it's masterpiece. In everything, production design, textures, but you come back to him when you gotta light a bathroom, or you come back to him when you gotta light a parking lot, you come back to him when you gotta light a fire. And I think that's why I think he's great, because he has this sort of, I don't know how else to play, I think he's like, if compared to photography, for me, he's like Henri Cartier-Bresson, when it's just 35, 40 mil, nothing fancy schmancy, boom, but like, good,
No, because you're saying Last Emperor. I mean, I was shooting, and actually Janusz, I think he was the gaffer on that. But we were shooting a movie called Strip to Kill 2, which was about a strip club, and then every day one of these strippers would disappear and get murdered somewhere. But during that time, I went and saw Last Emperor.
Yeah.
And so the next day we go back and, we're doing everything in like this big, yellow golden side light. And we copied all the Last Emperor lighting for Strip to Kill 2. And it was like, and then I remember I had to give notes to the, then I would always write on the camera port the little instructions for the dailies timer, and I remember writing like, make it look like Last Emperor, and he did. It was Mato who's at Photochem, and he's still around. He's this great film timer at Photochem that did all the Roger Corman movies with all of us, with Wally and Janusz and then is still around. Wally just did. Inception with him, because he still did photochemical finish. But I remember Mato made it look, he really embraced that whole Storaro thing. But yeah, I mean, it's great to have those influences and it's true, you know, you always kind of come back to those things, you know.
Yeah, but I think, you know, what's the difference between us, or painters, or photographers? It's great when you're kind of born with such amazing visual talent, you don't need anyone. But I never really, even like I talk with Vadim Yusuf after, even you see like Andrei Rublev and you feel this guy's just genius. He doesn't need to see anybody's work. And actually you start talking with him and you understand that it's also about learning somebody else's movies, you know.
Yeah, but also in painting, you know, I mean, you know that, you know, when Gauguin was hanging out with Van Gogh, I mean, they had very different styles, but there was definitely, you know, there were things that triggered, you know, people were acting off of each other, and that's why you have German Expressionism, you know, the Die Brücke and all these sort of, or the Cubists, and you know, it's like, it's natural for artists to inspire each other, and you know, whether it's through competition or, you know, I mean, we're you know, we're friends and all that, but you know, you see like Janusz do something, you go, motherfucker, you know, that's you know, he really, you know, like, because for me, for example, Janusz, very different style, you know, so I'm not really going like, you know, I want to do things like Janusz, and I go, well, you know, sometimes it really works great, you know, sometimes I'm too conscious of it, but then, you know, and then he'll go and do something like Diving Bell and Butterfly and show people that he's not just, you know, Spielberg's guy, and you go, man, you know, it's like,
no, I
you know, you can never put somebody in a box. You gotta just go like, you know, he's just fucking came up with a completely new thing.
Yeah.
And
but I think it's what Reporting is saying, that it doesn't matter what kind of movies we do. Like, I think in America, I mean, pretty much in the film industry, especially between critics or like this guy, he shot like with Haneke or whatever. So if we need something like that, we gotta, you know, I don't really believe in it. I think if you take a talented person, maybe who never done anything like that, he'll be much better than person who've done it already 25 times. And I think directors who are smart enough, they know it. They always wanna experiment with different people, you know, and try different things.
Well, that's why it's sometimes interesting, and I get this question a lot, like, why are so many Europeans like working in America? And you look at the 5 nominees every year of Academy or the ASC, and it's like, usually there's one American, you know, it's either Wally or Bob Richardson, but you know, the rest are Australian, the Germans, Italians, French, British, but and what is it? But I think it's, you know, I mean, to us, like when I first shot my first short film in the desert, you know, it's you know, the impact of this American landscape, or the images of America, it's really strong on us, our first impression. So in a way, maybe, you know, it takes a foreign eye to sort of appreciate, like Nebraska. I mean, you know, to me, you know, I'm like in another world, like while driving through a small town in Nebraska. It's really, you know, still has impact on me. And you want to reload this, but you know, and just like you know, maybe somebody who like a French cameraman who has to shoot in Paris, you know, to them it's completely banal, and they're not as inspired by it, just because, you know. So, yeah,
no, you're right. It's like when you travel abroad, you just see things differently. Like, you probably come to Moscow on the street where I live, you'll be like, oh, I want to take photos here, and I'll be passing this street every day of my life, and I want to go to Paris, take photos, you know, to America. Yeah, it's all, of course, it's all connected.
But since you started, like, you fell like right into, like, you didn't, you know, because we went through such, you know, decades of doing small movies, slowly, and B movies, and Wally did like 30 B movies before he did Memento and met Chris Nolan and all that. But you almost like, it was instant sort of like getting to America, and it's kind of what I think like a lot of people wish it was like that. And I was telling them, you know, it's completely different every time, but it's.
I think everyone has his own sort of a story, and I don't get me wrong. I actually quite intrigued that you interviewing me, because I don't feel like I did something so geniusly that, you know, I deserve to be in this kind of program. I think, as I said before, I think the only thing which is, I think, interesting is maybe my story, just for other DPs, you know, who just sitting somewhere, like, they don't understand, they don't have great guy, they don't know what to do, and it's important that they just do their best and don't give up, you know. And I think one day they will meet Chris Nolan, and then it will be, you know, something magical, you know. And like for me, I was growing up, you know, again like watching your movies, Janos's movies, you know, Wally's movies, and like about Janos, it's quite interesting. I think he shot probably 2 or 3 one of my favorite all-time cinematography movies, and I think his kind of wild energy. It's amazing how he can do completely masterpiece and sometimes do something not so good, you know, and then again masterpiece, you know. It's just, I think that's also maybe, you know, reason that how much it depends on the material, how much you gotta be lucky with the project, you know, like for example, of course, Drawing by Butterfly, but he shot this movie Munich, which is I saw first time and I was like, maybe not, but then I rewatched it 7 times. Because it's such a brilliant story and everything about it, it's like amazing, you know.
Yeah, and he knew, by the way, that that's special because people didn't really pay attention to it, and he was upset about it that it was not. People didn't see that, and he goes, you know, he put a lot of heart in that movie, and it means a lot to him. But when you first watch it, you go, well, you know, it's
nothing special. But then when you watch this movie, it's amazing because of cast and beautiful. You turn this movie in any part and you won't stop watching it. You just like, it has this thing with the cast. And I think Janos is the best when he's so expressionistic, when he let him go, you know, when he goes with these backlights, Dior nets, like, what the hell is going on? I really like the movie Lost Souls. I remember I was in Belarus shooting my first.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
and
Mario showed it, and I was in Belarus, depressed, like shooting this TV show. Everything looks horrible, and then I turned on this DVD I was buying those English DVDs with making of behind, and there's like, hello boys and girls, it's Janos and Mario, it's making of, you know. And then you see this making of, you like, and you get this energy, you know, you really want to keep going. Then next day it was like all backlight and stuff, but reality is, I think it's just fantastic that people do that, and I think, you know, you are where you are just because of not just the talent, but energy and love to filmmaking. I think it's kind of...
Well, when we asked, when Janos is talking about it, because he talks about, you know, number one ingredient is you just have to be fucking obsessed and passionate about it. And you know, you never know, you can't tell someone how long is it going to take to make it. It can take, you know, 10 years, 15 years, I mean, but if you are, like, have that in you, like you have, or Janos, and I mean, you just don't stop, and because we couldn't do anything else, and you know what, I agree with you. I think eventually you will, you know, meet the director, and I think everyone can make it who has that.
Yeah, if you just believe it, that's your life.
And Janos always knew it. I mean, he, first of all, I mean, I remember his reel, you know, and it was already completely different, you know, while he was in film school. He had his Columbia College films, and it was already, you know, very Polish in a way. It was, we all had like reels we were trying to do, you know, like American lighting, backlight and smoking, and he had like this wide shot, like a Tarkovsky shot with a tree, and then a naked man like running towards the tree, and we were like, what is this? But, you know, he was always, and he took that reel and he personally delivered it to 50 production houses, but didn't send it, which we did. He went there, sat in the waiting room until somebody made sure they watch it, and then took it back. Like he wouldn't just drop off a reel, and he did. He personally went to 50 production houses. That's how dreaming, and he got his movie, and
you know, he did probably at the end the most. I think Schindler's List. It's like, I don't know what to say. It's just.
And that's kind of his first. I mean, he's done some small features.
No, but I'm
before,
saying it's the movie which blows you away. It's like, I mean.
And that's a lucky break that he got that. But you know what? He was ready for it.
Yeah, and he deserved it.
I mean, he got a lucky break, but he knew, because we would ride motorcycles, and he was reckless. You know, everything he did was reckless. He was always like, he didn't smoke. We were smoking, Mauro Fiore and I, we were smoking. Then he started smoking. We smoked 10 cigarettes a day. He smoked 60. Then Mauro bought a motorcycle. I had one. We would go riding, you know, up to the Angeles Crest Highway. He bought one. Drove like crazy, you know. It's like, we were like, you're gonna kill yourself. And then he got a call from Stephen. And I remember we're driving to Silver Lake, and he's on the back of my bike, and we're going to have some tacos somewhere, fish tacos. And I'm driving and he's like, please be careful. slow down, and he didn't want to get injured suddenly because he knew this thing is going to change his life. He knew it, and you know, so you get these lucky breaks, but you have to be ready for them, and you have to recognize. And he certainly knew that this would be a complete life changer, and it was a complete life changer, and it came early in his life. But you know, he did the job. You know.
Yeah. No, I don't think actually it was a DP in that time who could shoot it like that. You know what I mean? I think it's like, you know, it's like some, you know, I mean, it's fantastic. I mean, Schindler's List, I just love that movie especially. Yeah, it's extremely influenced still, I think. But problem with those movies, you don't want to watch them too many times because then you feel sad again. So, so it's better kind of.
But yeah, yesterday we were talking a little bit about like directors and stuff. Like, do you feel, as a cinematographer, do you feel like, because we're talking about how certain cinematographers work with certain directors, do you feel your responsibility or your thing is to, how much do you want to bring to them, or how much do you want to take from them and have them sort of guide you, or do you instinctively sort of find a way to?
I think for me, it's in a way, I mean, maybe it sounds weird a little, but for me, it's a kind of marriage. So for me to work with a director, I gotta love him for something. So really give my best, you know. Love for his work, talent, writing. Like, for example, I love to work with David for his writing. He's a great director, very visual, but every script for him, I just like read it like, God, thanks that people like that exist, you know what I mean? So for me, it's important to feel kind of love. I don't believe in a relationship kind of American way when it's like, it's my job, it's your job, I'll do my job. What do you think about it? I don't believe in it at all, because I think to make just a good movie, it's such a hard job. Just a good movie. I'm not talking about masterpiece. That you can't do it without love to each other. You can't do it without this kind of brotherhood, without this belief in each other, without this trust in each other, because you just you won't make it. And even if sometimes director can be really hard and, you know, quite arrogant and, you know, have a hard sort of a relationship, you can hard relationship with him, and it's still, you're already married. You gotta just be humble and go through it. And after that, we'll see. If it will be genius movie, I'm almost about ready to forgive a lot. Because, dude, you were right, you know, because I don't think I'm the smartest or whatever, you know. But if it's not a genius movie and it's okay movie, then for me it's kind of finished relationship. Because you gotta be, I think, if you're so good that you can sort of let yourself be like that with your collaborators and people, then you got to do a good job, man. You know, work 3 times harder than you push us to work, you know. And, you know, I was quite lucky because all directors with whom I worked, they were my friends. And we can always meet after project, you know, talk, and we're always happy to see each other. And I think that's important. What I appreciate with working with directors as a cinematographer, when I see that they saying something or trying to create something, not just quite personal, but also with a lot of knowledge, preparation, and sort of a respect to filmmaking. Because, like, I had a lot of meetings with young, you know, my generation directors who actually are supposed to work, and I love to work, you know. And the only sad thing I felt, basically in 80% of those meetings, was because, all right, they talk with DP, they feel, okay, he's a great guy, and they have idea. And usually right now, because it's low budget movies, we have 30 days, 27 days, 22 days to make these movies. They talk about, listen, like, we're gonna do like have you seen like Breaking the Waves, or it just be handheld, we'll wanna light like 360, walk around and shoot and have this freedom of everything. And they like Breaking the Waves, Dardenne Brothers, and, you know, like all this kind of style. And I listened, I said, yeah, I mean, that sounds amazing. I love Breaking the Waves. And then by chance, I'm just asking, what other Lars von Trier movies have you seen? And then like, usually like, Idiots, I saw Idiots. Dancing in the Dark. And then I asked, have you seen Europe? And no, I haven't seen Europe. You should watch Europe. So why should I watch Europe? Just watch Europe. I think it's quite interesting, Lars von Trier, just watch Europe. And then sometimes they don't watch Europe and they just don't hire me because I ask them something to do. Usually that what happens. But for me, I think what it means that Lars von Trier created Idiots and write a Dogma manifest in 1998, by shooting a movie like Europe, which is for me, is a metropolis of Fritz Lang, visually. It's a Tarkovsky, it's a Bergman, it's a lot of craft on every level. Lighting, framing, composition, dolly moves, everything there. And after that, he said, I've done it. I have an academic education. Move on. Break the rules. Change the rules. Change the world. Revolution. Then I'm in. When revolution happens because of just a case of being flashy, I don't believe in it. Because if it would be so easy to write a good book, we will see a lot of writers. If it would be so easy to paint a good painting, it will be a lot of painters. Like Venice Beach has a lot of painters. But reality is, it's not as easy. And that's what, for me, the most important thing to see when I see the director, feel that he knows that it's not easy. And then he want to break with you, go with you, and then I'm in. And I don't care if it's 360, if lighting is like that, because the thing is, I can make this 360 still beautiful, and I know he will respect that. And because there is a difference between the commentary style of cinematography and crap. And I think right now, this difference is kind of losing each other, because what is happening, everyone thinks, okay, it's a digital camera, it looks already good, why should we do something with it? Let's just shoot it like it is. And of course, there's not enough time. But then I think there are movies like 21 Gram, Amoris Paris, which been shot handheld aesthetic, all naturalistic light. Listen, a lot of movies been done with free camera, but there is and maybe no lights, never lights, but is a right time, right composition, right frame, something. As a cinematographer, we have to bring something. The image has to be soulful. You gotta feel something from image. Otherwise, what's the difference between you and anybody else from the street who right now just can get exposure on this digital camera?
And you can't copy these styles if you're not, like, there's a reason nobody can do really what Cassavetes did. Because technically we could all do it. How hard is it to copy? I mean, you're going handheld, you're not really, there's light, but it's not so controlled, and you would think, oh yeah, it's just that, why ever know, why does that not exist? And Amoris Paris, I was here in Camera-Image and it won the Golden Frog because no one had seen that, and it would totally work with the energy of the, And I remember Rodrigo was here, he was just a kid, he was your age, and he had left, nobody expected, and they brought him back. I remember he had already flown away, he was somewhere, and then he came back. I remember he came on stage like at the Word Center with a sweater, had no, and it was not even a competition, like everyone just goes, wow,
Yeah.
And then what does it do? It triggers everybody trying to do movies like that, but it's never been really...
You just never or City of God, César Charlon did a fantastic City of God, or for example, Prophet, shot by Stéphane Fontaine. It's still naturalistic, but it's beautiful. You feel camera, even if it's a fluorescent lights, it's a top light, it's a 360 lighting, but there is idea, it's a soulful image. And my problem is right now when I see a lot of movies or this kind of hipster image, whatever, I just get bored. I get bored because you can't just put camera on easy rig and shoot 360, catch your flares, because you can do like a little commercial for insurance company who nobody gonna see it, but when you talk about movies, I think, listen, it's your life. It's the 6 months of your life. How you can do something like that? If you're a cinematographer, if you're just a guy who enjoys the digital technology, then yeah. But the other interesting thing about digital technology, I remember people were saying, yeah, it's gonna change right now. These cameras, they're gonna show up and people start finally do amazing movies without of you guys. They're gonna shoot these masterpieces and they're gonna have it. And I haven't seen none. Have you seen any good movie? I haven't. It's still 2 of them in the year or 3 of them in the year. So it doesn't change anything. So I think it's important again if this kind of program for cinematographers or something, that you guys have to stood up for your craft, and not because you want to be these cool guys who moving lights. Don't move lights, don't bring lights, but just be smart, just care, and if you care, people will feel it. Like, again, I'm saying this not because it's great cinematography, but like when we did on the watch, I shot on every possible digital crap in the world. I shot GoPro, 5D, I shot silicone image. But for silicone image, we took this camera, take it apart, create out of it silicone mini, new camera, which you can Velcro on any part of a police clothes. It can still shoot 4K, Super 16 sensor. We put C-mount lenses. We invented this wireless focus to pull focus on these C-mount lenses. So it looks easy, but before for that, it was made through this crazy work to make that, And then I feel like at least you did your best, how you could, to serve this aesthetic, and the rest is already in the God's hands, But do that, because otherwise, problem will be that one guy shoot movie like that, and because of the director, it will be successful movie. The other guy shoot movie like that, and then it will be just, it will be gone. That's